Hey everybody, it's the BKBK podcast where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. I'm your host, Brandon Phillips, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Brian Taylor, Kevin Taylor, and Captain Kyle McKenna. All right? We haven't been here in a while, so we're happy to be back, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Yep. You know that. So listen, I don't care that it's the preseason, ladies and gentlemen, but football is back and we love it.
Woo!
So yes, we here at Team BKBK will be talking about yesterday's preseason game between the Jets and the Giants. We're also going to talk about the Knicks and their off-season acquisitions. And one other thing that we're going to talk about and get into is how former NFL quarterback Sean King kind of gets under our skin a little bit. How about that? Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk about that.
We have a lot to say about that.
Yes, we have a lot to say about that, all right? It even might, it might even tweak us because it's not going to peak us. But we'll get into that later. But first of all, let's talk about this preseason game, Jets versus Giants, all righty? So I think the first thing that we should bring up, let's not beat around the bush, our number one draft pick, the number 2 pick in the draft overall, who I feel like I discovered on this show, baby. November of 2020, baby. Brought it up. Hold on, where's my back? I got to tell.
Oh, my God.
There it is right there. So listen, guys, how was Zach Wilson's play last night? Let's talk about it. You know what? I'm going to pick one of you because Kyle looks like he's ready to say something. Kyle McKenna.
Chopping at the bit, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, chopping at it.
I think you can't say that it was anywhere other than good. I think that the coming out there and the command of the offense and our ability to run the ball helped out a lot. His first completion was a play action pass to Corey Davis that was, on the heels of a 10-yard run to start out the game. So whenever you're able to combine those things and put your quarterback in a comfortable position where he can, feel like he's not pressured and things like that, I think that he came out there 6 for 9 for 63. The passes that were incomplete were not really poorly thrown balls or anything like that. So for a very small sample size early, he looked pretty good. It's funny when you go through Google and you look at the different articles evaluating what happened last night. Mm-hmm. The New York media, as we know, always very quick to sing praises and to knock people down. Seems like everybody was really high on how Zach played last night. And when you look at the national media, it was okay. Or I think Pro Football Talk referred to it as a quiet start. So I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves with what a preseason game means, but he went out there and he looked comfortable. They put him in empty sets a couple times in the first drive, which says a lot. And he has a flick to his ball that is really great, throwing people open, anticipating throws on outcuts, the things that are hard to do in the NFL. So, albeit against a skeleton crew of giant defenders, they didn't really have anything near their starting defense out there, but good showing. Or their starting offense, yeah, especially from the skill position point of view.
Just to add on to what you were saying, Kyle, just about Zach, good point about the flick that he has in his throwing. I like that. And also, I find that he has really good pocket presence for being a youngster. He looks comfortable. I remember when Payne just got into the league, and I think you and I used to talk about this, Kyle. He would kind of hop around and Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not comparing him to Peyton. Don't get me wrong, people out there. I'm not saying anything like that. But what I'm saying is he's not pitter-pattering. Out of the 9 attempts that he made, he does have good pocket presence. And to me, most of all, if you're going to be a quarterback in this league, he has this quiet confidence out there. And I happen to like that a lot. And there was a completion that he made to Corey Davis. And then Morgan Moses ran over to him and was basically congratulating him. And they got this close. And then you saw the excitement in Zach's face, yeah, you know what I mean? And I like seeing that too, because that means that the team is coming around the rookie and the team has confidence in the rookie, and the rookie has confidence back to lead this team. So, I mean, listen, we only saw it in 2 quarters of football, but it's a positive step in the right direction. And I also like what the O-line did for not just Zach, but for the run game as well. They were just firing off the line. We did have a few setbacks, but not setbacks, but a few plays that, that I would like to take back, especially up the middle between the center and the 2 guards. But AVT didn't play. He's still dealing with a pec injury.
Right.
And when he comes back, forget about it. I have the ultimate faith in him. And then we just need to see how the right guard develops and who's going to win that spot. Right now it's Van Roten, but we'll see what happens, But ultimately, I thought it was good, and I'm going to let someone else talk because I could just keep talking about this for like hours and hours.
Yeah, you can actually.
Be quiet, Ryan. Why are you wearing red? You should be wearing green, stupid.
Well, listen, I didn't want to look like Christmas wearing green on top of the red, so it's too early for that. But what I would say, I didn't get an opportunity to actually watch the game personally, but what I would say is that you see that they're focused on the run game. Right on the offensive side of the ball. That's going to be very important. Obviously, it's part of LaFleur and what he wants to establish, but they have to be able to establish the run so that you don't have Wilson out there chucking it around 60 times a game. And so, that sets up the play action pass. We were able to run the ball pretty effectively. The surprise was Ty Johnson starting, and you don't know what that actually means going into the first game of the season and the pecking order for the running backs. Michael Carter got out there and got some reps as well. But, we have to establish the run game, so I'm glad that they were able to go out there and do that against, even if it was the second unit for the Giants defense. But
I'm going to let you know, B, that Tevin Coleman didn't start because he didn't play, and he didn't play because of, air quotes, personal reasons. Mm-hmm. And I'm not knocking him. I just don't know what his personal reasons are. It's just, I'm just reading that off of the tweet that was put out there. So that's why he didn't play.
Okay.
I mean, wouldn't Ty Johnson have been the starter based off of last year though? It doesn't really surprise me that he started.
I think so.
He was the best running back on the on paper on the team carried over roster wise. So doesn't surprise. It was more surprising to me that that Coleman, and I don't think his first name is Tevin. I think Tevin is the singer. But
what is it?
Telvin, maybe, I think.
What is it?
Is it Telvin Coleman? No.
I know his last name's Coleman, but
is he
Tevin, Tevin Campbell is the singer, right? Yeah.
He was a singer, but on the depth chart it says Tevin.
Oh, okay. So I think you've called him Tevin Campbell before too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that he's the more known quantity to the coaching staff, maybe, and that's why.
Is he? Coaching staff is all new here, so.
But they're from
from San Francisco.
You're still talking about Tevin Campbell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's really important that we mention something here too before we go any further.
Uh-huh.
And the Jets lost their passing coordinator tragically, Greg Knapp, to a bicycle accident about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which I think that I can't imagine being on that staff and having to go through that and then go right into training camp with all that kind of on your heart. So it's kind of been pushed aside a little bit, in my opinion, media wise. Like they brought it up and then they put it away. But I can only imagine how these guys are still struggling a little bit with the loss of their friend in this regard. And, I don't know how close they were besides being coaches together, but in most cases in the NFL, those coaching staffs are built upon years and years of interaction and working together and coming from the same trees and stuff like that. And families like LaFleur and McVay and Saleh are all kind of connected like that. So I can only imagine that whatever success they had last night, there's a little bit of bittersweet remembrance of the guy that they lost. So I just want to throw that out there while it was on my mind.
And listen, Kyle, I was going to bring that up as well. So I'm glad you kind of threw it out there. But For me, you also talk about, that the impact of that loss on the development of, Wilson as well. When you looked at all the news coming out of OTAs and how well Zach Wilson was doing in practice and everything, and being accurate and what have you, and then this happens, and then we go into training camp. This is a week before training camp that this occurred. You go into training camp, you have all of that established, the entire offseason, the pecking order, the conversations that Greg Knapp was going to have or was having with Zach Wilson. And then you go into, training camp, and now he's struggling a little bit. And I can imagine that there's got to be a void there with that voice not being in his head that was there the entire offseason. So, I didn't take it lightly when it occurred, and I thought that would be something that would impact him and take some time to kind of recover from. And I think that's part of what you're seeing maybe in a slow start in training camp and some of that's occurring right now in the preseason.
Yeah, and I don't think that anybody in the media that I've seen has taken that point that you just made into account.
Yep.
In Zach Wilson's development. So I think that we're really kind of unpacking that for the first time right now. And this wasn't even, we didn't really even outline that we were going to talk about this. This is kind of organic, but I will say that it has come up several times. I listen to a lot of talk radio, specifically, New York talk radio, the Fan
and the Fan and ESPN, and they have brought it up. But not as often as I feel that they should have, right. In terms of highlighting the bump in the road as it relates to Zach Wilson's development. Look, yesterday's game just demonstrated to me what the year is going to entail, what the offensive strategy is going to entail. It is going to be play action pass first, maybe second down. Get yourself into a manageable third down situation where you don't have to throw it, or it's not predictable that you're going to need to throw it, but lean heavily on the offensive line, running game, and protection, which none of which existed for the last 3 years. So, and it was evident it obviously was evident when Zach Wilson was in the game. His passer rating was an 86.8. We went 6 for 9 with 63 yards. And then, White came in and went 13 for 19 with an 87 passer rating and threw 427 yards. Stayed in longer, obviously, had more opportunities. But it was, more of the same. It was first down, play action, second down, play action, bootleg, third down, dump it off to the wide out on a stretch, stretch
run.
Now, it wasn't a stretch run. I'm sorry. It was like a flat, passing into the flats, deep flat. So we know this. What I would have preferred is not prefer. What I would have liked to see is maybe Zach Wilson take a opportunity down the field, just to air out his arm. A 40, 50 yard pass, maybe one attempt before he left the game. But what I did appreciate is that he left on the game on a high note, and that's important. You want your freshman quarterback, for lack of a better term, to leave feeling good about himself. And that is actually absolutely what happened. Now, there were some other quarterbacks that were freshman quarterbacks that played yesterday that, took opportunities down the field and had, more of a where the reins were loosened more so than for Zach Wilson.
Are you referring to Justin Fields?
I am. I'm also referring to
You can even say that about our second and third string quarterbacks because actually they played longer than Zach.
They played longer, right? Yeah, they played longer. But I'm just talking about the competition from the the first round.
Yeah, the first round picks.
Right, Trevor Lawrence. He had a pick, I believe. I believe Trevor Lawrence had a pick, at least had a couple of sacks, right? But again, I think they played longer. But
Zach Wilson didn't get sacked the entire season.
Did not. But again, I like the fact that it was, look, we're gonna put you out there for a couple of series. You know, we're not gonna make it complicated for you. We're gonna set you up for success, and then we'll build to the crescendo. We're not gonna just throw you out there. We made that mistake. I'm watching the game where we made that mistake. A player that is there, and he's not playing today. It doesn't look like he's playing today. At least he's not starting. But and I'm talking about Darnold. But I liked what I saw. There were some issues with timing plays in terms of outs to Tyler Kroft, to Corey Davis, where the receivers either didn't get their heads spun around or there was a miscommunication. But again, that's all about timing. He did not have his best friend Elijah Moore on the field.
Sure.
But look, there weren't a whole lot of passes to Keelan Cole, which I would have liked to see.
But Keenan Cole had a nice big third down reception. I think he got like 17 or 18 yards on it.
Right.
It turned out to be really good. And I just want to just communicate how important this game was, and I think Kerry was articulating it well. How important this game was for Zach and his confidence and everything, because Brian and Kyle, what you guys are talking about, the significance of the passing coordinator in Coach Knapp passing away, and then because he started off the camps in the beginning, the spring camps and all that, everyone was super high on him. The beginning of camp, people were high on him. Then if you really just think about the timeline, Coach Knapp passes away, right?
Yep.
Then you look at the intra-squad scrimmage at the Garden. I mean, not at the Garden, but at the Meadowlands.
Yep.
He didn't play that well.
Right.
He didn't play that well. And then now, a couple weeks later, we have this, first preseason game. He gets coached up more. I guess they figure out how to work around not having Coach Knapp anymore, because I didn't hear about another hire. So maybe it's more on the offensive coordinator or however they, configured it. And then now he comes out and he plays better than a manageable game. He actually plays good. Was it stellar? No, but he didn't have the opportunity to produce stellar numbers. But what he did was very, very good and very healthy to move forward from. He can definitely use this as a springboard.
I jump back into the Justin Fields thing for a second because I think, Kerry, you brought up a very good point without maybe meaning to, on other than the one you made. I watched the whole play of Justin Fields yesterday. Very impressed with his ability to move around in the pocket. Would have loved to have seen some of the things that I saw in Justin Fields in Zach Wilson yesterday. I think they'll come, but it looked like Justin Fields was more comfortable early on. But he also came into the game in that same place that White came in.
Right.
So I just looked up Justin Fields' stats, and he was like, I believe it was like 14 of 20 for 142 yards, and he scored a touchdown rushing also.
He had a fumble too, though.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But the White's numbers aren't that much different than Justin Fields' numbers were in playing in the same type of time frame in the game with those second group offense guys from second quarter going into third quarter. So I think that it's context. Like, they're freshman rookie quarterbacks.
Yep.
You want them to go out and you want them to do well. But when you really look at the context, our backup quarterback did just as well as the Bears' current backup quarterback in the same sphere. And that goes to say too that we were talking about this on the text. We probably need somebody other than Josh Johnson in this mix, even though White played well. I think he's still developmental. I don't think he's like a bona fide number 2 right now.
Same
so
thing with Morgan.
Yeah, they haven't played any games, and we went through that with Luke Falk and Trevor Siemian, and actually Trevor Siemian was a bona fide number 2. He just got hurt so quickly. But this Chicago Bears situation, either Dalton or Foles are going to be available based on the way that Justin Fields played yesterday. So one of those is going to be the number 3 guy is gone from Chicago. That he's not sticking around.
Yeah, yes and no, because the issue is this: Justin Fields is not going to start beginning of this season, and that's more of a situation where your head coach can't take the risk of starting a rookie because he's on such thin ice, in my opinion. So I believe that they're going to start one of those 2 quarterbacks that you mentioned. So they're going to retain at least one of them.
But
right?
Justin Fields is not going to be number 3.
No, he isn't. No, he isn't. But he is not going to start out this season unless something happens where they're just terrible, and they have to have a specific change.
So that means it would have to be Foles, and I don't want to trade for Foles. I'd like to acquire him if he gets cut.
You might not have to trade for him. He might be like our waiver order is going to be high until the season starts.
Yeah.
Because all of our waiver claims are based off of last year's record and not this year's. I don't think that Jacksonville will put in a claim for Nick Foles if Nick Foles is waived.
Not with Minshew on the roster.
Exactly. So I guess what I'm saying is that whether Fields starts or not, and I'd love to hear Anthony's opinion on this, our resident Chicago Bear guy does his podcast on the Bears. I'd love to get his take on this. Maybe we could bring it in next time. But regardless of Fields starting or being second string, one of those guys is going to be waived.
All right.
They're not going to.
And to that point, what's going to happen is what they want to do. What most teams want to do is they want to release their lengthier veterans early on in the process so they can latch on to a team. So if this is going to happen in terms of release, this is going to happen, this week coming, in my opinion.
And there's also, and I could be wrong, I got to look this up, but there's no financial reward for the Bears releasing him at this juncture in the season. And I think I read that previously, so which is probably why they've still held on to him, thinking that somebody is going to need exactly.
So injury of some sort.
Correct. And they could even go into the season with that being the case. I mean, he's not going to be a happy camper, but
because of his inability to then latch on with somebody.
Correct.
Even if you're going to trade an asset, you're talking about a 6th round pick. You're not talking about anything below that.
Yeah,
you don't have to give somebody a 5th round pick to acquire the services of somebody who's going to get waived 2 weeks later.
Oh, sure.
Sure. So, I mean, if you want to lock it in, you want to say, hey, I know Nick Foles because I was with the Eagles when Nick Foles won a Super Bowl for him.
And the fact that you have so many draft picks, not all of them can play. So you give up.
I hear
just like the Knicks.
Yeah. No, hold on. I hear what you're all saying, but I think we're spending a lot of time on quarterbacks.
Sure.
That's fine. You know what I'm saying? But let's keep things moving because
absolutely.
The whole game, and I want to know who else stood out. We've already unpacked Zach Wilson. Thumbs up, right? I'm even going to give him 2 thumbs up, and I think you guys would probably echo my thoughts. But who else stood out for the Jets during this preseason game? Who comes to mind? Because I know I have a specific someone or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that the first one that I'm going to shout out is right in tune with Captain Kyle McKenna, and that is Bryce Huff.
Did you fall in love? Did you fall in love yesterday?
I've been in love with it. Well,
I've been in love.
I didn't fall in love.
Brandon's trying to take credit for him too.
No. I'm giving him to Kyle. I'm giving him to Kyle because Kyle made the move to get him, but I had my eye on him like this, like, you know what I'm saying? I was looking at him like across the commons area. Pause.
Wipe the coal out of those eyes, bro.
Yeah.
What did you see out of Bryce Huff yesterday?
What I
that got you on the bandwagon?
I always liked him.
I know, I'm only kidding.
But really, you know, I got to preface that. What really opened my eyes was that it's a new system because, you know, we saw him last year and he didn't stand out as much to me last year. I saw him as someone who had potential last year, but we went from a 3-4 to a hand in the dirt 4-3. He shoots right off the edges well, and he plays well when he's a smaller guy, but when you have two stout defensive tackles on the interior, he plays with a little bit more, I don't want to say reckless abandon, but he really just allows his natural ability to say round the corner or to just use his speed and his leverage to kind of just manipulate the tackles and to do his thing. And not only was he great at rushing the passer, he got 2 sacks and he got a couple other pressures. He was also good at setting the edge as well from his position at defensive end. So, I think
that what the scouts would call Bryce Huff is violent and sudden. Yes. And he makes up with a lot of his size deficiencies with his sudden hands and his violence and his ability to set the edge. Because he really is, he's a linebacker tweener when it comes to that comes well off the edge. And I think that he has a very similar skill set to Carl Lawson.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. They work pretty well together. It's something that Jordan Jenkins was not. Jordan Jenkins was the opposite. He was a steady Eddie, set the edge. You're not going to get around me, but I'm not really going to necessarily get up the field on you.
He was more of a Calvin Pace type of 3-4
right
linebacker edge type.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't quick twitch like Huff. Wasn't quick twitch like Lawson. Wasn't quick twitch.
Terrell Basham was one of those guys too. I would have loved to have kept Terrell Basham, and I think he'll have a good career in Dallas.
But you know who's going to be our season's Terrell Basham if we keep him? Hamilcar Rashed. You know, and he had 1.5 sacks last night, and I think he played well against the run as well.
The thing that Hamilcar and Bryce Huff have in common is they're both undrafted free agents. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've identified that Joe Douglas and staff are very astute at finding edge rushers in that bargain bin. Yeah. And I think that Bryce Huff in year 2, I think a lot of the NFL has to do with investing in a player and making them better if your coaching staff is good enough to do so. And I think we definitely have the coaching staff that can do that. So Bryce Huff in a year 2, Hamilcar Rashed, right?
Yeah, Hamilcar.
Yeah, Hamilcar Rashed out of Oregon State. Another guy that, you know, many of us drafted late in mocks, you know, as a potential guy. I think it's good that we have a front office that can identify that. I'm still waiting to see if they have that same type of magic wand with corners, because I like the play of Eccles last night. Yep. He very fearless. I mean, even the one where he got called for the interference on Sills.
Yeah,
he was fearless. He had very good, you know, like, you know how DB is taught to read the eyes when they're out of phase and have their back to the quarterback, so they can't see where the ball is. Right, but they know that you're going to scrape the hands and read the eyes when the ball's coming. He had a couple pass defended there that I thought were pretty good. Pinnock, Eccles, Isaiah Dunn. These are all guys that Isaiah Dunn was the highest paid free agent corner ever undrafted. So,
and our slot corner, number 40, I forget his name. Our slot corner had a good
Javelin Guidry.
Javelin Guidry.
He's a second year guy that was also. I don't know if he was a late draft pick or if he was undrafted. But getting back to your original point, Brandon, I think that Huff is exciting because he's the Kerry Taylor cheap labor philosophy of getting somebody from the bargain bin and letting them do what they do best and then improving them on it.
Yeah.
And I think it also brings up another thing, that our coaching staff is not afraid to play people in preseason games the whole game, because Bryce Huff started and he finished.
Yeah.
Blake Cashman, your guy,
yep.
Brandon, he was playing well into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And he had a pretty good game. I saw him running in and stuffing some runs and stuff. Just listen, Cashman, just stay healthy. You know, he's got shoulder issues. Hopefully he's all healed up from all that. But I like him a lot as a number 2 because I saw Mosley in there a lot at the start of the game making plays. I've been giving Mosley a hard time, you know, because I haven't seen him play in 2 years, but he came back, I think, 15 pounds lighter and flying around the field. He made the first defensive play by jumping up, getting airborne, and swatting a pass. It was the first play of the game when the Jets were on defense. And then Gerard Davis, the linebacker that we got from Detroit, former first-round pick, he had a really good game too. So, listen, things are going in the direction that we probably could not have completely foretold, you know? And I don't want to speak too far in advance, but right now things are looking good. And look at our young secondary. And there was no point during the game, whether it was the first string, the second string, or the third string, that our D-line did not put pressure on the opposing team's quarterback, which kind of just let our young secondary figure things out and play ball. Am I right? I mean,
no, 100%.
And outside of that one run from that Austrian running back that the Giants had,
funny.
I think he was from Austria, wasn't he? That was a nice run for that kid.
Plotzgummer.
Something like that, or Schwarzenegger. I don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
He was playing. He must have played on that team that Brian McCourt played on in Germany or Austria back in the 90s.
That was my quarterback.
Brian McCourt. He lit it up over there.
Lit it up.
From what Megan told me.
I never heard that story. Wow.
Yeah. So, let me take it somewhere for a second. Staying on the defensive side. How about my man Hamza Naziruddin? You know,
love him.
Yeah, buddy.
Number 45 out of Florida State. He's another one of those
He's converted to the outside linebacker, right?
Absolutely. I don't think Blake Cashman is going to be starting there at weak side linebacker, man. This guy's going to be the starter, definitely.
Blake is a top end backup for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's depth. It's all about depth. You know, in all aspects of this entire team. Offensive line depth. You know, Feeney played better than I anticipated. Replacing Vera Tucker. But again, he's a depth piece, right? So, you know, if you
he could chug a beer, evidently.
And he can chug a beer, which is
loves the Islanders.
You know, but I don't want to stay on him. I do want to piggyback on your pick, Brian, and highlighting Jamian Sherwood.
Yep.
Who had you know, a very good game as well at the linebacker position. Again, another late round draft pick that contributed. Jonathan Marshall, who I wanted to see more of.
Yeah.
That guy did well. Another 6th round, late round draft pick.
Look, is he the one that got us the safety?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. So again, the reoccurring theme here is of what we looked at when they were making these draft picks. We were like, huh? How many times did we say, huh?
Scratching your head, right? Like, okay.
Another safety? What are they going to do with him? What is he going to do? Why are you picking up another defensive lineman? We got Nathan Shepard and, you know, Sheldon Rankins and
Vinny Curry and
Vinny Curry.
Vinny Curry hasn't even
an all-pro team on the prep list. If you consider Vinny Curry, Kyle Phillips, Quentin Williams, Ashton Davis.
Yep.
You know, we're going to be solid up on the defensive side. the front seven, and we're going to be solid on the offensive side with that front five.
Well, can we dream? Can we dream for a second? Like think about the composition of the team, right? You got the defense, holding it down. You got the running game. Doesn't it sound like ground and pound a little bit? And then you got the rookie quarterback coming in here, gunslinger a little bit. Doesn't it sound like when we went to the AFC Championship game a couple times?
Check out Kerry.
The formula. Again, there's a lot that needs to fall into place, right? Rex Ryan was the guy, from a defensive side and scheming and all of those other things. We had a lockdown corner. There were other pieces that kind of fit more so than what we have right now, but just the formula itself, I like it.
The defense on those Rex Ryan teams, especially the two AFC Championship ones, were more scheme than talent.
Correct.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Kyle, great job. I was just about to say that. I think we actually have, aside from Darrelle Revis now, because
right.
Team,
and Cromartie,
but he was able to scheme.
Yep.
And create his whole scheme around Darrelle Revis. He's like, go lock off that side of the field. All right, coach, done, no problem. We don't have that, but we have that depth of D-line plus the scheme of a 4-3,
right,
which is riding more on zone, zone read, and this D-line, it's able to kind of push the pocket a little bit better than, say, Rex Ryan's kind of thing. His scheme was, basically linebackers, nose tackle. You take up two linemen,
right.
Linebackers just run to the ball. But it's really predicated on the D lineman creating the tone for basically everything.
Right.
And I was listening to Brian Baldinger talk. He was like, on a D line, like a 4-3 D line, if you have three guys on that D line that can kind of push upfield and get you that kind of penetration and that stoutness, then everything else starts to fall in behind it.
Right.
So 3 out of 4, if you can kind of get that. And I'm like, wait a second.
We have that. Yeah.
We have Foley, and then we have Lawson.
Yep. That's your 3.
We have a bunch of other people that we can sprinkle in that can cut. I think we got it. I think what Saleh has created here is depth at every position by virtue of competition at every position. With the exception of the quarterback room, there is a level of competition that I haven't seen from the Jets at every position.
Right.
For a long time. At defensive line, there is a rotation that's going to go on here where you don't have to worry about getting tired because it's next man up. If Carl Lawson's not there, then hey, Vinny Curry. And if Q isn't there, then Odakasi. If on the other side, if it's not Huff, then whoever Nasruddin, So my thing is that they've created a system that, because of there's a high level of competition, especially, and I think that this is what they're hoping for at the cornerback position, right? Is that everybody who's you're constantly having to look behind you to see who's behind you, so that you make sure that you perform, because that next man is going to step into your shoes if you don't.
Yeah, I would say
there's one exception.
Yeah,
go ahead, Kyle.
The tight end room stinks.
That's the other one. That's the other one.
And I would, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Brian, but I would trade an asset for Zach Ertz right now.
Right now, yes.
Me too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your quarterback. Your quarterback.
That tight end room stinks. Absolutely does. But what I would say is
terrible.
So there's no competition there because everybody's horrible equally. But what I would say is that the lack of depth in the other linebacker positions, CJ Mosley goes down. Who's filling that role?
Who's
right?
in the middle?
Who's in the middle? Right. So Jared Davis on the other side. Who's backing him up from that perspective too? So I'm a little concerned about that, especially with CJ Mosley and him being out for that longer period of time. But man, if he can come back to that all-pro player that he was a couple of years ago and be the middle of this defense, especially them flying around after the ball, penetration from the D linemen and the defensive ends and stuff like that. Man, I think we have something special brewing here in the New York Jets defensive room. Definitely.
I just want to see Nizardine turn into Fred Warner. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He wouldn't.
Yeah.
He's
He's a little small. He's a little smaller than Fred.
Wow.
but what I'm saying is Fred Warner, he's not that big, and you give Nizardine like a year in this NFL, program, he'll put on a couple pounds for you. He's already got the height and everything, and the speed and the athleticism.
Did you watch his highlights, bro?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he looks huge out there because he's tall, right? So he's a little thinner.
Right.
But he just the thing he did yesterday was causing the forced fumble. He was doing that like every game out there for Florida State. It was ridiculous. I'm like, okay,
he would have been a top 20 pick.
Sure.
Had he not gotten hurt.
Sure.
He would have been the first safety off the board.
Yep.
And I think this is also another example of Joe Douglas, like the Bryce Hall effect, like getting these guys off of injury that only fell that far because of the injury. So if you feel medically that you can rehab this, you're going to have first round talent. I think Nazarene is first round talent.
Nazarene reminds me of Cam Chancellor.
He does, right?
And to your point, Coach, even Bless Austin,
Bless Austin's another one.
You know what I mean? So, look, I like it.
Yeah. So, listen, this basically is a great segue to, my other point is, are you guys already seeing the difference? The coaching difference. And I think
the culture. It's a culture difference. It's
right.
not, I don't even know if it's a coaching difference because I think they're like we've talked about this before. It's that the NFL is kind of like stock cars. Like you got the same frame with parts. Like some have better parts than others, but with a salary cap, you're all kind of working in the same area. But when your culture is good, like it seemed like Adam Gase was very stale and stiff.
He was a vulture.
Yeah, he was not. He was a very me guy. Burner Twitter and stuff like that, burner phones. But with Saleh and Douglas together, I mean, they're a match made in heaven.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like they're cut from the same cloth, and I really feel as listening. I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to listen to the Flying Coach podcast with Peter Schrager and Sean McVay.
No.
They had a show with Saleh and Matt LaFleur, and no, which one's the coach of the Packers, Mike or Matt?
It is Matt. I think we have Mike.
Yeah, so it was the head coach of the Packers, Saleh, McVay, and Schrager, and the three coaches there are all best friends. And you just hear it, like there's an energy about Saleh that everybody's bought into quickly there, and that I think is the big difference. I don't know if it's the coaching so much because people know what they're doing. Yeah. It's how they're coached. But I definitely see it, and I made the comment yesterday that regardless of how good or bad Darnold is, it would have been interesting to see how Darnold would have fared if this was his entry to the NFL. If it was Darnold that we had drafted and he had come into a culture like this, what would we be looking at 3 years later? So I think Zach Wilson's getting a lot more benefit of the doubt in a lot of ways than Darnold.
Well,
I agree.
And I think there's different ways of coaching, right? There's X and O's and there's game day and there's also developmental. And, we're going to talk about the Knicks and what they're building over there, but it's very similar as far as the organizations and the track that they're on is that, X's and O's, game day, prepping for individual opponents is one thing. And I think Rex Ryan, again, defensively, excellent job at doing that. But also there's a developmental, what happens between Monday and Sunday, right? And what also happens the entire OTAs, the preseason, what's your plan for Zach Wilson, right? It's not just, hey, get him ready. It's you have to give him small pieces, build him up to a crescendo, and then let him go. right? And that whole process and bringing along players and player development is what builds programs ultimately and keeps you in a winning culture for a long, sustainable period of time. And if you don't have that and you're just X and O's, you just show up on Sunday and yeah, it's great you can get a W, but you know your guys aren't learning, and you're not going to be in a better place at the end of the season than you were at the beginning because you haven't developed these players overall. And that's where I think. What's that?
Yeah. Let's segue to the Knicks. This perfectly, perfect segue here.
Yeah.
Everything that you just said, well articulated. Do you feel like this is what the Knicks are doing now under this newer administration, so to speak, and this newer coach in Thibodeau?
So I believe so. I think that they believe that that's what they need to do. They've brought in players like a Johnny Bryant, I believe is the name of the coach that they brought in. There's other coaches that they brought in as well, specifically with an eye on development. And so understanding that, yeah, you can trade for, a top player, a star, but you're going to give up a whole bunch of assets for it. Or you could develop these people, like an RJ as an example, right? And his development from year 1 to year 2. Perfect example was the 3-point shot, which he didn't have one, right? And then he was 40% from 3 during last year's season. When you talk about Randall, and he was, a spare part that the Lakers traded to the Pelicans. The Pelicans were like, you can walk. We don't really need you. The Knicks pick him up. First year, he had some numbers, but he wasn't impacting winning, right?
He was a 2010 guy, but he wasn't impacting winning.
Correct. Wasn't impacting winning. Now, he's an all-pro type of player who can, not only create offense for himself, but for others as well. And, you force people to go out there. Kenny Payne, was out there as well. Somebody that was a coach for Kentucky, brought him over here, paid him a good amount of money in order to connect with the players that were here, a number of them being from Kentucky. But just the development of those players, bringing in Thibodeau's type of people. So you have the connection with Leon Rose as well as Thibodeau. Who do you need? I need 3D type players. Who'd they draft? 3 and D type players. People that can shoot 40% from 3, tough as nails on the defensive side, that can play both sides. Yes.
Ryan, when did you get Jamaican calling him Thibodeau? It's Thibodeau, bro.
Is it Tibbs? I thought so. You say Tibbs. Nobody says Thibs.
Well,
right?
So Tibbs, but it's Thibs. You're over there trying to sound like your name is Donovan or something.
It's a little bit Cajun too, like
it's a little raging Cajun too.
Yeah, like bon chance.
Thibodeau.
But Brian, but fellas, so great points, Brian, and I agree with basically everything that you're saying. And then we were just talking about culture in regards to the Jets, but now we're talking about the Knicks. And I called Gase, a culture vulture, right? And Kyle was just talking about it's not really coaching, but it's more of the culture. But I think the coaching manifests the culture. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's happening with the Knicks too. I think that their culture has turned around and it's still evolving into something positive. I mean, you basically have Knicks fans that love the Knicks so much they hated the Knicks. And then now it's like us 4, we love them so much that we love them even more. And we were so fired up to watch this playoff game that, that got us to where we didn't even think that we were going to be. And that's because of the culture that Thibs developed. And also another thing about the culture, I did not think that Derrick Rose was going to re-sign with us. But you know what? Because the culture is there and Thibodeau has, basically created this culture, he re-signed with us. And I love having him as the number 2 point guard for our second team. And then now we just got Kemba Walker. I mean, like, he might be a little bit dangerous.
Well, let's talk about Kemba Walker for a second. Like, this guy.
Terry don't agree with me. Check him out.
Kemba Walker gave up a lot of money because he's a Knicks fan.
Right.
Because he wants to play for the Knicks. And, like, when I saw, like, the money that he left on the table in Oklahoma City on that buyout, it's incredible to think about. And Brian brought this up a lot last year, that we were not and this is both Jets and Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
We were not a free agent destination because people did not want to come and be part of whatever was going on here. And now when you take the mecca that is Madison Square Garden and you pump it with adrenaline and you liven it up back to where it was before, and you see that it can be done organically with coaching, culture, and buy-in from the players that are there, to the point where a bust lottery pick turned himself into the most improved player in the NBA and an all-star.
Yep.
And is now, rewarded for that with an extension. Kemba wants to come. Kemba wants to come be part of that. Evan Fournier wants to come be part of that. Now, I think that Evan Fournier was also enticed by lots of zeros at the end of the contract, because we paid him more than he probably is worth.
Yes.
I mean, we'll see.
I mean,
it's arguable.
Yeah, it's arguable.
But I've never had so much fun watching the summer league games. They've been on DVR. I've watched every single one.
Wow.
From beginning to end. And like Obi Toppin just needed some time to marinate.
Yeah.
He just needed some time to marinate. And Jericho Sims, mark this down, is going to be a crucial part of us winning games next year.
Hey, you know what, Kyle? I sense that you were kind of, tailing off and almost ready to end. I'm so sorry to step on you, but I cannot. Kerry is dying to talk. He's dying to talk, and I got to give Kerry the floor.
Hey, to me, it's about tempered optimism, right? Grimes had 28 last night. McBride had 23. Jericho Sims had like 9 rebounds. I absolutely agree with the concept of the Knicks have decided to change their culture and lean into developing players. So, but the issue is that Grimes is going to be behind, Emmanuel Quickley, Kyle Burks, Fournier, RJ Barrett. So is he going to see a lot of playing time? Is he a DN3 kind of guy? Yes. He has a beautiful stroke, but I don't know if he's going to contribute the way in which we anticipate this year. And that same goes for McBride. He is behind.
He's behind Walker and he's behind Rose, both have injury issues, right? So you're going to need somebody,
right? So, but again, for him to get significant playing time, it's going to be if in the event that Kemba or Rose has lengthier injuries, right? But again, I love the pick. He is a defensive guy that can shoot the ball, has a sort of inability to create and for other players. But again, that's something that you can develop, right? So are they going to stash him over in the G League? Possible, but we may not see more. We may not see as much of him as we want to. Sims, another guy. He's going to be behind Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to see a lot of playing time in the event that there aren't any injuries? You're hoping Mitchell Robinson stays healthy for at least 70 games, right? But again, is he going to get a two-way contract where he can play up to 50, 60 games for the G League team and still come up, right?
Mitchell Robinson's going to get in foul trouble.
That's a different issue because you signed Todd Gibson as well, so you went the remainder of the season without Mitchell Robinson, but you had Noel and you had Taj on your roster. Kevin Knox is not going to see the hard court.
That's what I was going to bring up next. Is Kevin Knox on this team,
right? And what we're seeing of Obi Toppin in preseason in the rookie league is a 25-year-old guy playing up against 19-year-old players. So what you want to look for is him improving. Is his shot improving? Is his shot selection improving? Mm-hmm. The answers to those are yes. But is he going to get significant playing time at the power forward where he can be an additional threat besides, being in the paint and excuse me, not more so running up and down the field, running up and down the court? I'm not necessarily certain. Look, I didn't want Obi Toppin. I wanted
who do you want, man? Tell him.
And I'm gonna yell at the top of my lungs. And let's be clear, quiet as kept. Tibbs wanted Obi. So
did Brian.
Tibbs wanted Obi, or he wanted Halliburton? I thought he wanted Halliburton.
You heard me right the first time.
Oh, okay.
So but I don't think that's a secret. I think we all knew that. But again, the overall point is they are heading in the right direction, just like the Jets. They're heading in the right direction. And the right direction specifically for me are individuals looking at the Knicks as a possible destination to sign, regardless of the money. Because I will tell you, in the past, the Knicks could have offered everything
to
some of these players, and they still wouldn't have signed here.
Exactly.
So that's a credit. That's a credit and a discredit to Rose, because nobody was giving him 4 years on those knees, right? Kemba wasn't going to get a 2-year contract for $16 million or $18 million from anybody else. But
wait. He already had it. I guess I don't get that point.
Buyout. He didn't have to accept the buyout.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He wanted to be
here.
Exactly.
He wanted to be
home.
Right.
He wanted to be home, and he wanted to, and it was attractive to play for the Knicks as opposed to being unattractive, and then just staying in Oklahoma City and just making your money. Right.
I get the impression that Kemba Walker is also somebody who has not been stupid with their money.
No, he has not.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you hear the things about him, like he's not a guy that plays video games.
No, he does
in
not.
Between games. Mm-mm. He's a pro.
He's like, let's get in the gym. Let's get in the gym.
Yeah, so he probably has a lot of money stacked, and he can play for situation and not for cash.
And he can go home to the Bronx every night when he wants to.
Get that arroz con dulces, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're saying he's getting a crib in Riverdale?
Well, I would assume so. You might have a little spot in Riverdale where you can take the train back and forth to the Garden.
That would be nice.
To the Garden, baby. He's gonna walk around with white socks and chancletas like his
Oh yeah, with the socks on too.
Hey, listen. Let me say one thing before we transition into our our tweet me, peek me thing, because that was a great conversation about Knicks. I think the one thing that the Locks should have done during Versus was shout out that Madison Square Garden, which they tore down, is where everybody needs to come. And then I think that everybody out there would want to come and join the Knicks and forget about these Brooklyn Nets. So that's my only faux pas with the Locks. Even though they matched it up in the Verses.
Is that on like YouTube now to be able to watch?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Dude, who's having a better week than the Locks?
Oh my goodness.
Really?
Right. Was it the Locks or was it just Jada? Let's be clear.
It was the Locks.
It was, yeah. I mean, Jada, of course. I mean, you know what I mean. But the Locks overall,
right.
Forget about it.
Come on.
Definitely.
And that was in the theater, the Felt Forum, right?
That was in the theater at the Garden. Yeah.
So a lot of great boxing matches and Gold Gloves.
Yeah, man.
That was definitely 12 rounds.
Brian and I were there. Remember that one, B?
Oh, absolutely, bro.
We were at the melee in the Garden.
Oh, the Polish.
Yeah, between Andrew Galata and Riddick Bowe, and everybody, Kyle, started fighting.
Yeah, man.
Everybody. And me, Brian, and Tehran, we stood like back to back, and we were just like this, like just ready.
Trying to get out.
Trying to get out, because we didn't know what was going to happen. And everybody tried to make it seem like it was a racial thing. It was not. It was New York versus Poland.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't black versus white. It was New York versus Poland.
There's only one way in and out of there too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then you saw a whole bunch of cops right in there, like headed in one direction, like like, all right, this is our shot, man. Let's get out of here.
That was the most people fighting all at once that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, man.
Me, Brian, and Tehran were there at the Garden for an historic moment with our hands up like this, like, all right, yo. Oh, all right, that's cool.
Oh man, crazy.
All right, man. Listen, let's go to Tweet Me and Peep Me. Brian, cue up that music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so listen, this is Tweak Me, Peek Me, all righty? Basically, what we talk about here is things that we observe in our lives and in the sports world that tweak us, basically that we don't like, and things that pique us, which, gives us ever flourishing. All righty? So what we're going to do now, I'm going to start off with actually something that kind of tweaks me. Brian, if you can throw it up on the screen, what I'm talking about, our asset. I'm going to go ahead and read it here.
It's up there.
It's up there. All right. Give me 1 second here. Stand by. All righty. So this is from former NFL quarterback Sean King. He was a quarterback. He played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All righty. He only played 6 years. And this is what this guy said. And he said this about the Jets and about Zach Wilson. Quote, "You can't tell me that Zach Wilson was the second best player in this past year's draft. That pick is going to age terribly. I'm on record as saying Kellen Mond or Kyle Trask will be better NFL quarterbacks than Zach Wilson. Write that down. Write that down." End quote. Stupid. Get out of here, man.
I'm not. What you're talking about. You guys know I'm not one to pile on people who reach that level of NFL success, whether it be a coach or a player or whatever, but for him as a guy who did not have that much success in the NFL that was based on his play, I don't know if I get why he's coming so hard on Zach Wilson. First of all, and why you bring up Kellen Mond and Kyle Trask?
And why did he say write that down? And then he said it again, write that down twice.
It's tweaking me. It's tweaking me to know
the redundancy annoys you, I guess, huh?
No, it tweaks me out. It tweaks me out. Like, basically, can I get a show of hands? Was that smart or was that stupid?
Stupid.
You know what I mean? I'd say it's smart because nobody was talking about this dude before this. At the end of the day, right? So everybody needs a hot take. Everybody wants to yell in a hot mic, and
not if you play yourself, B. Not if you play yourself.
Well, I mean, sometimes playing yourself is the only way that people even get attention. At the end of the day,
thing is bad press,
right? Exactly. So I don't listen. I think that it's absolute. How does he even know that at the end of the day, right? He's trying to make predictions. That's what everybody does. And after this was even before the first preseason game, he's going to make this assessment on a quarterback that hasn't even played one down in the NFL. You sound stupid. But hey, if that's what you want to do in order to get attention, yeah, I think it's a smart move for him to do that. But there's no way that he could or anybody could predict where he's at. I mean, just like Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick, I guess everybody knew that too. I mean, come on, please.
I mean, it's not like he's Colin Cowherd or somebody like that who's paid to have takes like this. He's the running backs coach for the University of Southern Florida. I mean,
this guy has like a job? I thought he was in the media.
No, that's what Wikipedia says his current job is. And,
you had to look it up, huh, Kyle?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my point is that it just seems like a very Bleacher Report type of hot take. As far as let's tear this young man down, and this pick down, and call it all hype, for a blast headline on Google. I mean, which is where we all saw it, right? Like, and then it got re-reported by the New York media in the Post and stuff like that because it's a hot take. I mean, we heard it too from Chris Sims saying when he said that Zach Wilson was better than Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Now, I don't know.
He has a good track record of picking quarterbacks out of the draft, but that's neither here nor there.
But again, like he has a show on Pro Football Talk, so he's supposed to talk about what he thinks. I don't get this in that there's not enough data to make that prediction right now, and it's clearly nothing but a hot take. So, but it tweaks me because it's making a kid a failure before he even throws a pass.
I know, man.
And it's making the pick a failure before anybody throws a pass. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of that except for I'm not inviting Sean King to any of my watch parties for anything, boxing, football, or anything.
I think it's Sean King like this.
Stupid! I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
What's that from, bro?
With that said, I respect Sean King's. I respect the career that he had. I think none of us have had an NFL career, but his Tampa Bay defense was really good, and he had to do a lot not to screw that up.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, who's your peak then, bro? Come on, man. Give me your peak.
Yeah,
let's move on. This
tweak
tweak is tweaking me out.
Yeah.
Well, at least we all have the same tweak this week.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I have a tweak too.
No, I got a different one.
Right.
Oh, you do?
Go ahead.
All right. So my peak is basically just the I'm just seeing the transformation of the Jets organization, which I happen to really like because Adam Gates, I just thought just brought them to the gates of hell, and now we have someone just bringing them out. And listen, man, sorry guys, I'm just real angry with Sean King, and and then Adam Gates. I get quick to get angry with that dude. So I have to kind of just remember
he was off your Christmas card list a long time ago.
Yeah. So but I'm just happy for the turnaround. I'm actually physically seeing it. It feels tangible, and I'm seeing it. I'm witnessing it, and I'm just like, wow, this is really happening, and it feels really good. So I just hope that through ownership, front office, and coaching, and the players that they've brought in, this new balance of players and everything, that we can really just see something positive here, and a nice turnaround. I'm just a diehard Jets fan. Ever since my Jets bike, when people didn't even know my name, but they knew me as the kid with the Jets bike. Brian remembers, I moved to Long Island when I was 8 years old, man, and I was a kid with the Jets bike. And I didn't even really follow the Jets, but I thought I had a dope bike, and that's what made me be a Jets fan. And then my Uncle Donnie brought me to my first Jets game, and he pointed out Joe Klecko, and he was like, you need to watch him. And then I just fell in love. So, I'm ready for this turnaround. So that's my peak, and I think it's starting to happen. By the way,
B, you're still known as the kid with the Jets bike.
Yeah, that's all right.
It hasn't gone away yet.
Yeah.
Riding it around Lindenhurst.
Yeah. Lucky Lindy.
Oh, yeah. Who's next?
I'll go quickly. So what tweaks me is, and Coach Kyle pointed it out and just made me even more frustrated, is this tight end room. And I was high on, the Kenny Yeboah pickup as an undrafted free agent, but I haven't heard his name at all.
Didn't he fumble or something? That's what caused the. Yeah.
I mean, he's
he got rocked, and that helicopter spin in the air.
Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah. He fumbled the ball. He got rocked.
Right. I mean, it's another. I feel like it's another Chris Herndon all over again. And
that's your fault.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So that's what tweaks me. I'm not going to go any further than that.
Okay.
But what piques me is these other late round picks that seem to be developing into depth pieces and in some instances starter pieces for this Jet team. All of the guys that we were like, who, why, like, Hamilton Rashid and I don't even remember their names now. Nasruddin,
Yes.
Jermaine Sherwood,
Eccles,
Brandon Eccles. These guys hopefully will contribute significantly to the depth as well as the competition at the cornerback and linebacker positions. Pinnock, hopefully Isaiah Dunn will find his way as well. Look,
D lineman out of Arkansas.
The D lineman out of Jonathan Marshall.
Yeah.
Look, again, I deem these guys the Huck crew because all of us were like, when they were drafted. So if they can become, I know that guy, that crew, then look, we are ahead of the game. Cheap labor.
We're gonna get you T-shirts,
and we can front like we were drafting them in our mocks too. So hopefully that Hunt crew becomes because we can keep fronting.
No, I gotta cover our mocks. We ain't draft them, dude.
He got the receipts, and it's not on there.
It's
not on there.
Who's next?
I would say that besides the Sean King thing, which has been tweaking me since it happened, I'm a little tweaked, like Kerry said, about depth in general in the tight end room, but I'm also piqued by the depth in all the other rooms. So you look at places where we were weak, we are now strong. Like our running back room, a good running back's going to get cut from that group.
Yeah.
If Josh Adams, the carries that he got last night were all really good runs. I don't think that there was a running back that didn't have a good run, except for maybe P. Ryan had a volume of carries that would have driven down the average, I think, in a 4-minute offense and stuff like that. I did see sometimes where some of the running backs they ran the ball into bad number situations, which they weren't going to have success in. Something that we saw a lot with Adam Gase coach teams, running into bad box.
Fourth and one plays, a couple of 4th and 1 plays to the left side and then to the right side. But you're right.
Yeah, I think that, though, when you look at how good our wide receiver group is now, how good our running back group is, the fact that we might not have to go out and sign a veteran corner where we all thought that we were going to have to do that, I think our options are very limited right now. With Richard Sherman getting in trouble, I mean, no one's going to sign him at this point because it wasn't a good look for him.
No,
I don't think that there's any way that he is going to get away with not having league ramifications for that as well. So that's kind of off the table, and that was like really our last option, I think, from free agent veteran corners.
Mm-hmm.
But it would really pique me. It'd take me to another level if our pro scouting department was really taking advantage of watching these other games and seeing who they could acquire on the cheap or for very small amount of assets, like a Zach Ertz, who's already vocalized that he's not happy in Philadelphia. They already extended that Dallas Goedert guy, so I don't think he's in their plans, and I think he could be had, especially with the Philadelphia and Jets connection. Front office wise, I think that they should be scouring the league for quality tight end guys, and also potentially some corners that might get cut off of better rooms. But I'm pretty confident and very peaked about the depth at most positions on the team. Would like to see that backup quarterback situation be remedied in the next week and a half, if possible.
I think we need to find a kicker too. We had a kicker. I forget who it was. He missed one last night.
Unfortunately, I think that we are not the only team with that problem.
Yeah.
Right now, there's several teams that I think that the moving back of this extra point has really changed the game for kickers. The consistency that you have to have day in, day out with that new extra point is a little bit different than it was before. So, if I had known that they were going to move that back, it may have tendered Jason Myers a different deal all the way back when we let him go. But I mean, that's in the past anyway. But I am very, very piqued just by the overall performance of the Jets in this game, and want to hope that the practices with Green Bay are good and work out well this week, and that we're going forward into the regular season with at full strength.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's me, right? So my tweak is the NFL.com administrators. And the reason why I say that is that yesterday I was trying to get the stats for Zach Wilson all game, and for some reason he's the only guy that they didn't list the stats for. You could check it right now. They still don't have any stats for Zach Wilson, as if he never played the game. I'm like, what's going on here, right? I know he just threw a pass. You guys are commenting in the text, and I'm trying to keep up with it while I'm out with the fellows and stuff. And I'm like, where's his stats? I had to go to like Yahoo in order to get stats for Zach Wilson. It's crazy.
And the NFL headquarters is in New York. I don't get it. They're treating us like, come on, man.
Conspiracy theorists.
Not even like giving us a chance to get stats. It's kind of like, what you call it? Kind of like,
I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
This guy, yo.
You like that?
Yeah, he loves it evidently. So yeah, man, that's the conspiracy theorist though in me is like, they hate Zach Wilson already. Maybe this guy King was working for the administrators who's like, cut his stats out. I don't know. So what piques me, fellas, we are 4 weeks away from the beginning of the Douglas and Saleh era. Exactly 4 weeks.
And Wilson.
I mean, but I want to meld those two names together first, right? So, okay. Because what I don't want to have happen, and I don't think, I'm confident what won't happen is what happened last year, right? Is that my niece's birthday celebration, and I see the TV's over there. I position myself in order to watch the Jets versus Bills. It's the first game of the season, and by halftime, our whole season was over, right? I have confidence that that's not going to happen this year. So I'm very, very piqued about the fact that we're going to be playing Carolina, and I feel confident that we're going to win that game. If we don't win the game, we're not going to get blown out and totally just feel like our season is over by the time halftime is over for the first game of the season. So I really feel like what they're building, Douglas, Saleh, those late round draft picks that we harped on was a combination of those two gentlemen together, right? It was Saleh being prepared and knowing the type of players that he needs, and then Douglas knowing, all right, well, this is where I can get those players in the draft. And we didn't talk about Elijah Moore because he wasn't there, but that's a second round draft pick. We didn't talk about AVT, who was a first round draft pick, right? We spent capital on those guys, and they didn't even play yesterday, right? So plug those people in, plus the talent that's on the pup And my God, I really think we have something brewing here that we're going to be proud to be a part of and be a fan of coming this year. So that's what piques me, baby. Piques me, baby.
I love it. I love it. I'm ready, man. I'm ready. So listen, great show. Great having everybody back. And everyone out there, stay tuned because we're going to have more regular shows as this season starts to heat up. All right. So thanks for watching another episode of the BKBK podcast. We want to be able to keep bringing you the latest news and viewpoints of where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. So keep watching. You can find us on Facebook, on our BKBK podcast fan page. You can find us on Twitter on @BKBK podcast. Find us on Instagram @BKBK podcast, as well as on YouTube. When you go to YouTube, just type in BKBK podcast. Guys, girls, make sure you hit the like, you hit the subscribe button and support the show. And also, you can find us or listen to us on iTunes. So go to bkbkpodcast.podomatic.com. All right, and you can listen to us there if you're in the car or whatever like that, you know. So, that's it, guys. It was great having you. And, let's go BKBK podcast. Let's go New York Jets. Let's go Knicks. Let's go Baldwin Bruins. All right.
Yeah, buddy.